watching Morning at NTV.
This is Morning at NTV, and thank you for making us the #1 breakfast show in the country. Our next conversation, Pearl Dairy Farms Limited has partnered with UMC Victoria Hospital under its Lato Help initiative and offering corrective surgeries to children with disabilities between the ages of 4 and to 18 years. Right, Mr. Juko? And some of these children suffer from conditions like cerebral palsy, hydrocephalus, polio, some are got through accidents or severe malaria, etc. Different health camps are being held every month to assess which child is in need of this surgery. Those children from families that are financially disadvantaged get to access the surgeries at free cost. Victoria Hospital will hold another health camp this January, I'm talking about 2020. Part of the financing for these surgeries also comes from public support. Every time one buys Lato Red Pack milk, 100% proceeds from these go to financing the surgeries. To speak to us about these surgeries, we have Dr. Edrin Juko, the Chief Medical Officer at UMC Victoria Hospital, and he joins me right now in studio. Very good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. So this initiative is really great. First off, when you say corrective surgery for children with disabilities, what do you actually mean? But first off, before we get into the corrective surgeries, help us understand what is the cleft palate and the lip palate and what causes it?
Well, when we talk about cleft palate and cleft lip,
yes.
Yes, a cleft is like a gap. Yes, and normally your lip, which is this, can have a gap that extends all the way from the nasal bridge downwards. And then you'll see people who have literally like a gap in their lip. And now this there's an associated extension as well, which people call the cleft palate for the upper part of our mouth, okay? This cavity up. So it may have like a gap there as well, something we call the cleft palate. Yes, and these are normally caused by changes in your DNA. When your cells are dividing as a child is being formed in the womb, there are changes, the DNA is multiplying, or what we call replicating, such that more cells form. And sometimes if there are lots of other exposures that are involved, we may end up having changes in the way cells divide. So you end up having a child who actually has defects, born with defects. Yes.
Are there any environmental factors that cause such birth defects?
Yes. Now, in particular, they may not be very much attached because there are lots of investigations going on. So what we normally say for congenital anomalies specifically, we say there could be exposures as well. If you have exposures to very bad gases, if you have exposures to very heavy metals, people talk about things like asbestos, mercury. Those are some of the things that can easily cause changes in your
So people who
DNA.
are using mercury, like the people in Eastern Uganda, Central and Western, Central, Western and Eastern, where where mercury is being used very much. So you're telling me that they are at higher risk, especially the pregnant women, of having children who have birth defects if they continue using mercury?
Yeah.
Wow. So how many corrective surgeries do I have to go through to actually work on this cleft?
It can be just one surgery.
One.
Yes. The oromaxillofacial surgeons, the surgeons for the mouth, and also in relation with the pediatric surgeons, they can be able to correct this in one sitting. But of course, normally the worry is with are there other anomalies that are associated with cleft lip or cleft palate, because just exposure to mercury may also cause other issues elsewhere, and other organs might have a problem. One of the biggest ones is the heart as well. So people end up with what people call a hole on the heart, but they're just changes in the heart that may be associated as well with other congenital anomalies here. So yes, it can be one sitting, but the amount of work we have to put in before the surgery to prepare the baby, to give the child a chance to survive even after the surgery is a great deal of work.
Does binge drinking on the part of the mother, heavy drinking of alcohol, actually exacerbate the problem of birth defects?
Definitely. Alcohol has been associated with congenital anomalies for a very long time. Yes. So that is why we try as much as we can to encourage mothers to stop drinking the moment they realize that they're actually pregnant. Yes, it has been shown that most of the heart defects are actually related to alcohol intake and smoking as well.
What can be done for the child's speech from the beginning of infancy straight to the time they go to school?
In terms of?
The child speech. What can be done for the child's speech from infancy to the time they go to school?
It's when you have a cleft lip, it's more difficult because sometimes it could be associated with the Pierre-Robin syndrome, where children have small jaws, the tongue falls back, and then they have difficulty in breathing. It's a difficult time because speech is related to movement of your tongue and your jaw as well. So anything that
especially the English language,
that, yes. So most of the times, if corrective surgery is done, then we have speech therapists as well. Now those are people who are part of the team. Like I said, surgery alone is not entirely the only thing that we get to do, but other things that come in, like occupational therapy, speech therapy, physical therapy, all of those come in handy when with surgery is done. Yes, so that can help greatly.
So let's say a family has a two-week baby. Yes, this baby has Robin Pierre syndrome right there, and this child has problems swallowing. So what can be done to help this child before the corrective surgery at 1 year?
Now, normally if we can't swallow, then we can't feed. So that means that in medicine, normally we have to put a small tube, which we can feed from. It's a feeding tube. And it's very tiny. We see them a lot in hospitals. So children can feed through that most of the times. Mothers can express breast milk and then just keep on feeding the child through the tube, and that helps with nutritional requirements on a daily basis as we are prepping up the child for surgery, because you need to pass the child fit for surgery. That is very important. Yeah.
Can the cleft palate cause hearing loss?
Difficult. It may be associated, like
What's
we
the
said.
correlation?
Like we said, most of these congenital anomalies are associated with others as well. So because of the exposures, we don't say, okay, Mercury came and then it only went to the mouth and that is where it concentrated and prevented DNA changes. You may have other DNA changes in other areas. So you may have a cleft palate, but then you have other associated anomalies that come along with this. So what this shows us is that if someone has a cleft palate or a cleft lip, then we need to look out for other anomalies. The hearing defects might be there, the heart defects might be there as well. So it is just like a pointer. Is there something else? Yes, we have seen this, because for it's very obvious. Sometimes you're not able to see that the child actually has hearing loss, because you can't tell if a baby is hearing or not until maybe at a later stage. So it's very good to notice that this child actually may need to do a couple of hearing tests at an earlier stage than later on, when we discover that, oh, my child actually cannot respond when I talk to them. Yes, so this is very physical. You can see it, that the child has a cleft lip, but it is an entry to other things.
Yeah, or actually it entails that there are other ailments that the child is suffering from.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Juko, can you tell if a fetus in the mother's womb does actually have a cleft palate?
Yeah, I mean,
before the child is actually produced? Yeah,
the advanced testings that are done these days, people are doing 4D scans, you know, they're able to tell lots of these anomalies intrauterine. So where we are going with medicine now, yes, you can easily tell. We are able to do amniotic fluid tests these days to tell that there are lots of changes that are happening. So there's lots that we can do now than before. Although sometimes when people look at the expense, they're thinking, if I tell that I have a cleft palate, then what do I do? Okay. So when we do some of these tests, we are thinking, will it help? Will it change anything than before? Okay. If unless you have something that will prevent the child from surviving outside when the child is born, but if it is just a cleft palate, then most people will say, no, there's nothing that I can do. I can correct it when the child is born, so I can wait.
Indeed. So does everyone have to have surgery for a cleft palate, and what if they don't?
Well, there will be the difficulty later on in life, definitely. Like we said, feeding is a problem, speech may be a problem as well. So we still encourage them to have surgery. If you can't afford, sometimes affording is a challenge. That is why working together with, like you said before, Pearl Diaries coming up and being able to work through the Lato Help initiative, a project that has been running since October 2018 and offering corrective surgery for children, working together with us, UMC Victoria Hospital. So these people are able to help you pay for the surgery, because we want to improve the quality of life for the children of Uganda.
And it's a great initiative, Dr. Juko, because in Africa, most families are poor. So affording such surgery could be really expensive for those families. So I do welcome that partnership between LATO and UMC, Victoria Hospital. So where do these camps you are holding with LATO taking place?
Yes, now we do it in different segments. We have technical teams that are available definitely at our facilities. So if you walked in and said, I would want to be part of the surgeries, then we take you up and follow you up. But then also we conduct camps in districts. We have done one in Mukono, Jinja, and we want to move out, of course, definitely in Kampala. We want to move out this year, coming 2020, to the Far East in Bali and the like, but also in the far west of Kasese and in the north. We are moving out. Very soon, in January, we shall be doing one in Mityana and then also in Mukono, late January at the end. So ideally, that is our thinking now. That is where we are moving to. So the camps are very crucial. Although what we say is that the moment you come in and we screen you and we say you need surgery, we normally have to take your name to the board of Lato Help, and they approve the surgery. Then we come back. Our doctor, the team of doctors, sits down and is able to now do the pre-surgical assessment for you, and then we plan for the surgery. Yes.
So let's talk about the children who are affected. According to the research you've been carrying out in this regard, how many children are affected by the cleft lip and the cleft palate?
In Uganda, it's about 0.73 in 1,000 live births. It's closer to 1 than less than 0.5. So if you take that to 100,000 live births, that could be about 7 in 100,000. Yeah, it's common, and the problem is that because it affects the quality of life for the children, then we think that we are able to create a change. Definitely, yeah.
The social isolation and the stigmatization. Wow. So what kind of follow-up is needed after surgery?
Well, like we said, one of the things is there's speech therapy that is done, and then we have to continuing to measure the quality of life that the child is living. How are the wounds healing? So what we're doing now in relation as well, the cleft and palate and the cleft lip, plus the other orthopedic surgeries that we do for children who have polio, cerebral palsy as well. We have identified internally, we are able to do physiotherapy for them and speech therapy, but then we have identified units in their districts so they don't have to travel back here, and that is all paid for by the Lato Help project.
That is amazing. Is there a high risk of infection after surgery?
Like all surgeries, as long as you have a wound somewhere, there's a risk for infection, but post-surgical management involves use of antibiotics as you're going home, so that reduces your risk of getting post-operative infections. Yeah.
As we wrap up, who gets to benefit from this camp and who doesn't?
Like we said, there's a team. There's a technical team that has to identify the needs. We are not under pressure to do the surgeries. We have to know that you're the right person, and then a budget is created by the Lato Help project initiative, and most importantly, people actually are like the Lato Red Pack, which is in most of the supermarkets by Pearl Diaries. They get to participate, because when you buy one Lato Red Pack, you actually 100% of the proceeds goes to corrective surgery. So the moment that budget is available, then we are able to go ahead and pay for a child who can. And the doctors are doing it as a CSR, so they don't get paid, they like it. Yes.
So they don't get paid?
They don't get paid. This
is pro bono?
This is pro bono for them. They like doing it, and it works well in all directions.
So what does the surgery entail? Who are the specialists on this team?
Yeah, now for the cleft lip, cleft palate, we have our oromaxillofacial surgeons who are able to do that, and they work together with the pediatric surgeons, the anesthesia team definitely, to make the child sleep. And that is during surgery, but before surgery, like we said, the pediatrician is involved to identify any other anomalies. Then we have post-surgery, we have people like the speech therapist who is involved, physiotherapists as well that are involved to help the child, their jaws as well. So the team comes all the way from the pre-surgical time, the surgical time, and then the post-surgical time.
Is there currently any research being done regarding the cleft palate?
Well, the question should be more of, is there any research done in regards to what causes? Because sometimes we speculate most of the causes. We may not have look at the exposures. Yes, we know certain exposures, but and most of the research is carried out in away from Uganda. In Uganda, there is lesser research, but we can tell you that yes, we know where these clefts are common, Uganda or these areas, how common are they? That research is there. But the exposures as well. We're looking at the exposures. That research sometimes is limited because you know how funding is sometimes.
Yes, yes.
The targets are a bit different for the funders, so that is limited.
Because my case is the people in Eastern Uganda, Central and Western Uganda who are using mercury to extract gold, and most of them are women, I'm telling you. Mercury causes birth defects, and most of these women, like you saw in the panorama story, did not know the effects of mercury on their health, on their lives. So please, just let these people know. Just your advice for the people right there, the people in Eastern Uganda, the people in the West and Central who are using mercury right there. Just let them know.
So for the people who are using the heavy metals, I'll be, today it's mercury, tomorrow it could be something else. When we do identification of these heavy metals, we know, like mercury, like you said, we need to, the moment you are pregnant, normally we want to reduce exposure to these heavy metals. So we try to ask you always, as part of health safety, if you have health safety officers, they can identify that certain people don't need to be exposed. So those are people we normally move away from those areas, and then we take them to other areas. So if you're in those areas and you're exposed to such, and you know that you could be pregnant, or there's a chance that you could be, then we normally ask you to move away from those areas, or get some health safety officers can actually help in relocating such people to another area, or being off for that particular time, and then they can come on when they're done.
Dr. Edrin Juko, the Chief Medical Officer at UMC Victoria University, we're talking about the issues regarding the cleft palate and the lip and the cleft lip. How best can you take care of your child if their child is having that ailment? And Mr. Juko is saying you can have corrective surgery right there, and your child can just go back to living as normal as their counterparts. Well, and the people of the East, the West and Central right there who are using mercury to extract gold, especially if you're a pregnant mother, you're exposing your unborn baby to some really hazardous metals right there. My name is Romeo Busiku. Right here haven't we come to the end of the show? We have come to the end of the show. We'll be right back here tomorrow, 6:30 a.m. all the way to 9 a.m. Right about now, we are wrapping up. I have Dr. Juko. He's been amazing, but I'll see you tomorrow, same time, 6:30 a.m. all the way to 9 a.m. Have yourselves a blessed day.